The stars twinkled silently in the vast darkness of space as Admiral Lee Jinwoo gazed through the reinforced windows of the International Space Station, his weathered hands clasped behind his back, a habit from his 30 years of military service. The space station's usual hum of equipment seemed muted today, as if the very machines held their breath for what was about to happen. The first sign came as a subtle distortion in the stars, like heat waves rising from hot pavement. Then it appeared. The Vexor ship materialized from what seemed like nowhere, its crystalline surface catching and reflecting Earth's sunlight in rainbow patterns. Jinwoo's breath caught in his throat. In all his years of space service, he had never seen anything so beautiful and terrifying at the same time. "Admiral, they're positioning themselves for docking," reported Lieutenant Park from her console. Her voice trembled slightly, betraying the nervous energy that filled the station. Jinwoo nodded, his face remaining carefully neutral. "Notify all personnel. Security teams in position. Let's make history." The Vexor ship, easily 20 times the size of the ISS, moved with impossible grace for its size. Its docking procedure was flawless, connecting to the station's special airlock that had been installed just months ago when they first received the aliens' message. Kim Hena, Earth's chief diplomat, joined Jinwoo at the observation deck. Her traditional Korean hanbok seemed out of place among the utilitarian spacesuits and military uniforms, but she had insisted on wearing it. "This is who we are," she had said during planning. "Let them see Earth's cultures from the start." "Ready?" Jinwoo asked her quietly. Hannah smoothed her silk skirt with steady hands. "As ready as anyone can be for humanity's first contact." The airlock cycle began. Security teams stood at attention, their weapons carefully hidden but within reach. Scientists clutched their instruments, eager to gather any data they could. The inner door slid open with a soft hiss. Ambassador Krell had to duck to enter the station. His scaled body towered nearly 9 feet tall, moving with a fluid grace that seemed impossible for his size. Iridescent patterns rippled across his scales as he moved, creating a mesmerizing display of colors. Behind him came 4 other Vexor, each carrying what appeared to be ceremonial staffs. Jinwoo stepped forward, hands open in the universal gesture of peace. "Ambassador Krell, welcome to the International Space Station. I am Admiral Lee Jinwoo, representing Earth's United Space Command." Krell's vertical pupils contracted as they focused on Jinwoo. The ambassador didn't bow, nod, or show any sign of acknowledgement. Instead, he swept his gaze around the station's module, his expression impossible to read on his alien features. "This facility is..." Krell paused, his translator creating perfectly accented English. "Primitive." As expected. The dismissal in his tone was clear. Several of the human personnel shifted uncomfortably, but maintained their positions. Hannah stepped forward, her hanbok rustling softly in the station's artificial gravity. "Ambassador, I am Kim Hannah, Earth's chief diplomatic representative. We are honored to..." "Your species' attempt at decoration is noted," Krell interrupted, his eyes fixing on her traditional dress. "But we are not here for cultural exchange. The Confederation requires your system's resources." Jinwoo felt his jaw tighten, but years of military discipline kept his voice steady. "Ambassador, we're prepared to discuss mutually beneficial arrangements." "You misunderstand," Krell cut in again. "This is not a negotiation. You will comply. Your technological level is barely above planetary confinement. You have nothing to offer except your resources." Hannah maintained her diplomatic smile, though Jinwoo could see the strain around her eyes. "Perhaps if we could discuss specific resources and potential trade agreements." Krell made a sharp gesture with one 4-fingered hand. His scales flashed deep purple, a color they hadn't seen before. "Trade. With primitives. Your species still burns fossil fuels. You wage wars over imaginary lines on your planet's surface. You haven't even terraformed your nearest planetary neighbor." The ambassador's staff suddenly lit up with complex holographic displays, showing images of Earth's cities, military bases, and industrial centers. We have been watching. Your pollution, your conflicts, your wasteful use of resources. The Confederation cannot allow this to continue. You will be brought under proper management. Jinwoo felt the situation slipping away from them. This wasn't first contact. This was an imperial pronouncement. Ambassador, Earth is a sovereign world. Sovereignty requires the ability to defend it, Krell stated flatly. You have 7 planetary rotations to prepare your leadership for integration into the Confederation. Resistance would be. He paused, his scales shifting to a deep blue, wasteful. Without another word, the ambassador turned and headed back to the airlock, his entourage following silently. The human security teams tensed, but Jinwoo gave a subtle hand signal to stand down. Starting a fight here, now, would be disastrous. As the airlock cycled, Hannah turned to Jinwoo, her diplomatic mask finally cracking. That went even worse than our worst-case scenarios. Jinwoo watched the Vexor ship detach from the station with the same elegant precision with which it had arrived. Get me a direct line to the Security Council. They need to know. This isn't first contact. He turned to face the window again, watching Earth rotate peacefully below, unaware of what had just happened 400 kilometers above its surface. This is first invasion. 7 days after the disastrous first contact, the world had changed. Streets were packed with protesters, military vehicles rolled through cities, and the stock markets had plunged to historic lows. The giant Vexor ship still hung in orbit, a constant reminder visible even in daylight, gleaming like a second moon. Park Sun-ho sat in his office at the UN headquarters, reviewing the latest emergency reports. His desk was covered with papers, evacuation plans, military assessments, and diplomatic analyses. The bags under his eyes told the story of a week without proper sleep. His secretary burst in without knocking. "Sir, they're broadcasting." Every screen in the building suddenly lit up with the same image. Ambassador Krell's scaled face, somehow even more intimidating in high definition. The message began playing simultaneously on every device capable of receiving a signal, from Times Square billboards to smartphones in remote villages. "People of Earth," Krell's translated voice rang out, each word precise and cold. "Your leadership has been given time to prepare for integration into the Confederation. That time is now concluded." Sun-ho watched, his hands clenched into fists as Krell continued. "Your primitive attempts at diplomacy have merely confirmed our initial assessment. You are not ready for self-governance. Submit to Confederation authority, or face extinction." The ambassador's scales shifted to that deep purple they had learned meant contempt. "Your species is not even worth the effort of conquest." The broadcast cut off abruptly, leaving screens worldwide showing static before returning to their normal functions. Sun-ho's phone immediately exploded with calls and messages, but he ignored them all. Instead, he straightened his tie and headed for the Security Council chamber. The emergency session was already underway when he arrived. Representatives from every major nation sat around the famous horseshoe-shaped table, their faces grim. Admiral Lee Jinwoo and Kim Hana were there too, having returned from the space station 3 days ago. "The Chinese military is on full alert," the Chinese representative was saying, "but against their technology. The United States has activated all emergency protocols," interrupted the American representative. "Our nuclear deterrent." "Nuclear weapons?" scoffed the Russian delegate. "Did you see their ship? Our most powerful weapons would be like throwing stones at a tank." The chamber erupted into overlapping arguments and shouted questions. Sun-ho walked to his place at the center of the table, but remained standing. Gradually, the room fell silent as all eyes turned to him. "1 week ago," he began, his voice quiet but carrying to every corner of the chamber, "I believed this would be my proudest moment as Secretary General. Humanity's first contact with an advanced civilization. Instead, we face an ultimatum from beings who see us as nothing more than resources to be harvested." He looked around the room, meeting each representative's eyes. They came expecting us to bow our heads and submit. They came expecting primitives who would be grateful for their guidance. They came expecting sheep. Sun Ho pressed a button on his console, bringing up global military readiness reports. But what they don't understand is this. Humanity has never submitted quietly to tyranny. From the smallest tribes fighting colonial powers to the greatest revolutions in history, we have always fought for our freedom. Mr. Secretary General, the British representative spoke up. With respect, we've all seen their technology. This wouldn't be a fight. It would be a slaughter. Perhaps, Sun Ho acknowledged. But consider this. They don't think we're worth the effort of conquest. They expect us to submit without a fight. That means they haven't prepared for real resistance. A thin smile crossed his face. And that is their first mistake. He pressed another button, revealing classified images of underground facilities and secret weapon systems that made several representatives gasp. We've been preparing for this possibility for decades. Every major nation has contingency plans, technologies we've kept hidden, weapons we've developed in secret. The chamber had fallen completely silent now, hanging on his every word. They think they know us because they've watched our cities from orbit. They think they understand us because they've studied our broadcasts. But they don't know humanity's greatest strength, our absolute refusal to bow to those who would enslave us. Sun Ho straightened to his full height, his voice rising with conviction. They call us primitive because we still fight wars. They mock us because we haven't terraformed Mars. They dismiss us because we burn fossil fuels. But they forget. Every step of human progress has been bought with blood and sacrifice. Every advancement we've made has come because we refuse to accept our limitations. He looked up at the ceiling, as if he could see the Vexor ship through it. They want an answer. Here it is. His voice rang through the chamber, steel and fire in every word. War, you'll get your war. The chamber erupted in cheers and shouts of approval. Even the most hesitant representatives were on their feet, caught up in the moment. Sun Ho raised his hands for silence. Send the message to every military command. Activate all emergency protocols. If they want humanity to submit, let's show them exactly what primitive humans can do when we're fighting for our survival. As the representatives rushed to relay orders to their governments, Admiral Jinwoo approached Sun Ho. That's going to provoke an immediate response from them, he warned. Sun Ho nodded. Good. Let them come down expecting an easy victory. Let them think we're just primitive savages with simple weapons. His eyes hardened. Let them learn what happens when you back humanity into a corner. Above them, invisible to the naked eye, but tracked by every telescope on Earth, the Vexor ship began to move. 2 kilometers beneath Mount Hala's peaceful surface, General Song Meiro walked through steel corridors that hadn't seen light in decades. Her footsteps echoed off walls lined with technology that officially didn't exist. Emergency lights cast everything in a soft blue glow as ancient systems awakened from their long slumber. Status report, she commanded, entering the central control room. The chamber was massive, carved directly into the mountain's heart. Rows of operators sat at consoles that looked more alien than human, their screens displaying data in patterns that would have confused most military officials. All systems coming online, General, reported Colonel Yoon, her second in command. Power output at 60% and climbing. Quantum shield generators are warming up. Weapon systems are initializing. Mireille nodded, watching as the enormous main screen displayed a real-time map of similar facilities activating worldwide. Green dots appeared one by one. Under the Rockies, beneath the Urals, deep in the Australian outback. Each point represented decades of secret work, billions in hidden funding and technology that would have changed the world if revealed. To think we kept this secret for so long, Yoon muttered, standing beside her. All those UFO sightings we had to cover up, all those meteorites we had to hide. We had to, Mayray replied, remembering her own first day on the project 20 years ago. If the public knew we'd recovered alien technology, that we'd managed to reverse engineer it, The panic would have been uncontrollable. The room hummed with increasing power as more systems came online. Technicians called out status reports in various languages: Korean, English, Russian, Chinese. This facility, like all the others, was truly international, though its existence was known only to a select few in each government. Message from Facility 7 in Russia. An operator announced. Their plasma cannons are operational. Facility 3 in Nevada reports their gravity manipulation systems are online. Myra walked to a smaller screen showing the Vexor ship in orbit. They're so confident, she said softly, so certain of their superiority. Did their scans detect any of our facilities? Negative, Yoon replied with a slight smile. The quantum shielding held. As far as they know, we're just a primitive species with basic rocket technology and simple weapons. A new alert flashed on the main screen. Myra's expression hardened as she read it. They're launching landing craft, multiple vessels, heading for major cities. Should we engage? Yoon asked, his hand hovering over the weapons control panel. Myra shook her head. Not yet. Let them come. Let them land. Let them think they have us completely outmatched. She turned to address the entire control room. Begin Operation Aegis. Full power to all systems, but maintain quantum shielding. No response until my direct order. The room burst into coordinated activity. More screens lit up, showing weapons that combined human ingenuity with recovered alien technology. Gravity manipulation fields, plasma weapons, energy shields, all hidden away for this very moment. Message from the Secretary General, an aide reported. All facilities are go for Operation Aegis. We have authorization to engage when ready. Myra watched as the Vexor landing craft entered Earth's atmosphere, their arrogant approach showing they expected no resistance. They had no idea they were flying into carefully prepared killing zones, areas where humanity's hidden weapons could be most effective. They called us primitive, she said to her staff, her voice carrying across the now quiet room. They mocked our technology, our wars, our very nature as humans. But they forgot something important. We learned to fight before we learned to talk. We built weapons before we built cities. And every time someone has tried to conquer us, we've fought back with everything we had. She turned to face her people, seeing the same determination in their eyes that she felt in her heart. Let them think we're defenseless. Let them land their troops and deploy their weapons. Let them think victory is certain. Her smile was fierce in the blue light. Because when they realize what we've actually been preparing for all these years, it will be too late. Above them, the first Vexor ships began their landing approaches, their sensors still showing nothing but primitive human defenses. In bunkers and hidden facilities worldwide, humanity's real weapons waited silently, ready to teach the aliens a lesson about underestimating Earth. Send word to all facilities, Myra ordered. Operation Aegis is now active. Wait for my signal to engage. She watched the approaching ships on the main screen, her voice dropping to a whisper. Let's show them what primitives can do. The first rays of sunlight had barely touched the horizon when the Vexor ships descended through Earth's atmosphere. They came in formation, thousands of crystalline vessels turning the dawn sky into a glittering canvas. Their confidence was obvious in how they made no attempt at stealth or evasion. Colonel Choi Ta-won stood in the underground hangar, watching his pilots suit up. These weren't ordinary flight suits. Each one contained technology reverse-engineered from crashed alien vessels, enhanced by human innovation. The suits looked almost organic, molding themselves to each pilot's body. All squadrons report ready, sir, his second-in-command announced. Ta-won nodded, checking his own suit's systems. Open the mountain. Above them, massive camouflage doors built into the mountainside began to slide apart. The hangar housed 30 fighters that looked nothing like traditional human aircraft. Their sleek, dark shapes resembled predatory birds, built with technology that most of the world didn't know existed. Remember, Ta-won addressed his pilots through the comm system. We've trained for this moment for years. They think they're facing outdated jets and primitive missiles. Let's show them how wrong they are. The Vexor ships were now directly overhead, their weapons beginning to power up. They expected to face token resistance at best, perhaps a few missiles, some desperate fighter planes. Their scans showed nothing but standard military bases and conventional weapons. Ghost Squadron, launch. Ta-1 ordered. His fighter lifted smoothly, anti-gravity systems humming to life. 29 others followed, rising from their hidden base like shadows given form. The first Vexor ship spotted them too late. Ta-1's fighter accelerated at impossible speeds, its human-enhanced alien technology allowing maneuvers that would have killed an unprotected pilot. His targeting system locked onto the larger vessel's weak points, points they knew about thanks to decades of studying crashed ships. Weapons free, he commanded. Show them what humans can do. Energy beams lanced out from the Earth fighters, cutting through Vexor shields calibrated to stop much less advanced weapons. The alien ship's crystal surface cracked, then shattered, its pieces raining down harmlessly over empty ocean. First blood is ours, Ta-1 transmitted. All squadrons, engage at will. Remember your training. The sky erupted in chaos. More hidden hangars opened worldwide, releasing hundreds of advanced fighters. The Vexor, caught completely off guard, found themselves facing weapons and technology they thought impossible for primitives to possess. Ta-1's fighter danced through the combat, its neural interface allowing him to control it almost with thought alone. He watched a younger pilot pull off a maneuver that would have been suicide in a conventional aircraft, using the fighter's gravitational field to literally bend space around incoming fire. They're trying to regroup, his tactical officer reported. Larger ships are pulling back to higher orbit. Not this time, Ta-1 growled. Ground batteries, you are clear to engage. Show them nowhere is safe. Hidden installations across Earth's surface powered up. Massive energy weapons, disguised as mountains or buildings, targeted the retreating Vexor ships. The aliens found their escape route cut off by weapons they hadn't detected, couldn't have imagined humans possessing. Sir, his comm officer called out, we're intercepting their communications. They're calling for help. Ta-1 allowed himself a grim smile as he lined up another shot. Good. Let them call. Let them tell the Confederation what happens when you underestimate humanity. The battle raged for hours, but the outcome was never in doubt. The Vexor had come prepared for a simple subjugation. Instead, they found themselves facing an enemy that had spent decades preparing for this exact scenario. As the sun reached its zenith, the remaining Vexor ships fled Earth's atmosphere in disarray. The skies were littered with debris from their shattered vessels, a testament to humanity's hidden strength. Ta-1 led his squadron back to base, their fighters still humming with power. Control, this is Ghost Leader. First wave has been repelled. Casualties. Minimal, Colonel, came the reply. 7 pilots lost worldwide, but we destroyed over 60% of their invasion force. Landing his fighter, Ta-1 saw the pride in his pilots' faces as they removed their helmets. They had trained for years in secret, carrying the burden of knowing what might come while unable to tell even their families. Well done, all of you, he transmitted to every pilot worldwide. But this was just the first strike. They'll be back, and next time, they'll know what they're facing. He looked up through the closing hangar doors at the now clear sky. But that's exactly what we wanted. Now they know. Earth isn't defenseless. We're not primitive, and we're definitely not going to submit. Above them, the remnants of the Vexor fleet retreated to report an impossible defeat at the hands of a species they had gravely underestimated. The real war was just beginning. Dr. Yang Kai-yun stared at the holographic display, her tired eyes reflecting streams of alien code. For 3 weeks straight, her team had been analyzing data from captured Vexor ships, looking for any advantage they could find. Coffee cups littered her desk, testament to endless hours of work. Look at this pattern, she said suddenly, pointing to a sequence that repeated through the alien computer systems. Her colleague, Dr. Kim, leaned in closer. Their combat responses. They're not adapting, she continued, excitement creeping into her voice. Every engagement follows the same basic algorithms. Even when they fail, they just try the same approaches with more force. The discovery had started with a simple observation. During the first counterattack, several human pilots had reported that Vexor ships became confused by unconventional maneuvers. At first, they thought it was just superior human training, but Jia Yun had suspected something deeper. "Call the military command," she ordered, already pulling up more data. "I need to show them something important." Hours later, she stood before a panel of military leaders in the underground command center. Admiral Li Jinwu was there, along with commanders from several nations. "The Vexar aren't just predictable," Jia Yun explained, showing battle footage. "Their entire combat system is based on perfect logical responses. They don't improvise. They don't adapt. They simply follow increasingly complex pre-programmed patterns." She played a video of a human fighter performing an impossible maneuver, cutting power, spinning in free fall, then reactivating systems to attack from an unexpected angle. The Vexor ship had no response, trying the same defensive pattern 3 times before being destroyed. "Their technology is advanced," Jia Yun continued, "but it lacks human intuition. They rely completely on algorithms and probability calculations. They can't comprehend why a pilot would make an illogical choice that puts them at risk for a potential advantage." Admiral Jinwu leaned forward. "You're saying their weakness is their perfection?" Jia Yun nodded eagerly. "Exactly. They've evolved beyond taking risks. Their combat systems are designed to make perfect, logical choices every time. But war isn't logical. Humans understand that sometimes you have to do something crazy to win." She showed more footage. Human pilots using maneuvers that looked like mistakes but led to victories. Ground forces using tactics that seemed to break basic military doctrine but worked against the rigid Vexor responses. "We can use this," she explained, "if we deliberately fight wrong. If we make choices their systems consider illogical, we can force them into situations their algorithms can't handle." The military leaders exchanged looks. This could change everything about how they fought the war. "Show us how to implement this," Jinwu ordered. Over the next few days, Jia Yun's discovery transformed Earth's defense strategy. Pilots were trained to break conventional patterns, to make choices that seemed risky or wrong, but would confuse Vexor targeting systems. Ground forces learned to move in ways that alien algorithms couldn't predict. The results were immediate and devastating. In the next major battle, human forces used deliberately chaotic tactics. Fighters would cut power in mid-flight, appearing dead before reactivating at crucial moments. Ground troops would retreat from strong positions only to spring traps the Vexor never saw coming. "They're trying to adapt," Jia Yun reported, watching the battle data. "But their systems can't handle it. Every time they create a new algorithm to counter our illogical moves, we simply do something even more unexpected." The Vexor losses mounted. Their perfect formations broke against unpredictable human attacks. Their flawless strategies fell apart when faced with tactics that defied their logical expectations. "It's beautiful, in a way," Jia Yun told her team as they watched another successful engagement. "They advanced so far that they forgot something fundamental. Sometimes the best move isn't the perfect one. Sometimes you have to embrace chaos to find victory." The Confederation's response was to send larger forces, more ships, more troops. But they still couldn't break free from their reliance on predictable patterns. Human creativity and intuition proved more valuable than pure technological superiority. "They called us primitive," Jia Yun said during a briefing. "But they forgot that primitive doesn't mean simple. We survived and evolved because we could adapt, because we could think in ways that broke the patterns. That's not a weakness. It's our greatest strength." As she watched the latest battle reports, showing more Vexor ships falling to seemingly impossible human tactics, Jia Yun felt a deep pride. Humanity hadn't just survived first contact. They had proven that sometimes the most advanced solution isn't the best one. Sometimes, being human was advantage enough. Captain Kang Do-hyun walked across the bridge of the HSS Revenge, his footsteps echoing on deck plates made from captured Vexor technology. The ship represented humanity's greatest achievement, their first true starship, built in secret using knowledge gained from the war. Engineering reports all systems ready, Captain, his first officer reported. The hybrid drive is functioning at optimal levels. Do-hyun nodded, studying the holographic displays that filled the bridge. The Revenge looked Vexor from the outside, but inside it was uniquely human. Where alien ships were all cold efficiency, humans had added their own touches. Backup systems, redundant controls, and modifications that the Vexor would never have considered. Signal from Earth Command, the communications officer announced. We have final authorization. Operation Waypoint is go. Very well, Do-hyun said, taking his command chair. All hands, prepare for faster-than-light transit. Plot course for the Vexor homeworld. The crew worked with practiced efficiency, each member chosen for their ability to think creatively under pressure. They had trained for months in simulators, learning to operate technology that until recently had been pure science fiction. Multiple Vexor patrol ships detected at the edge of the system, Tactical reported. They haven't noticed us yet. Do-hyun smiled slightly. The Revenge carried more than just weapons. It had the most advanced stealth systems humans could devise, combining alien technology with Earth's decades of experience in radar avoidance. Take us out, nice and quiet, he ordered. Let's show them what their own technology can do in human hands. The Revenge moved silently through space, its hybrid drive humming with power. As they passed Mars, Do-hyun thought about how far humanity had come. From being dismissed as primitives to building their own starship in less than a year. It was an achievement that would have seemed impossible before the war. Sir, his science officer called out, we're picking up interesting communications from the Confederation networks we've tapped into. There seems to be disagreement among their member species. Do-hyun moved to look at the data himself. The translation showed growing discord in the Confederation. Several species had apparently been impressed by humanity's resistance, questioning the wisdom of trying to subjugate such a resourceful race. The Arcarians are particularly vocal, the officer continued. They're calling for a reassessment of humanity's classification as a primitive species. Good, Do-hyun replied. That's exactly what this mission is about. We're not going to their homeworld to destroy it. We're going to show them we can reach it. The Revenge cleared the solar system without detection, its human-modified systems proving superior to standard Vexor scanning technology. The moment of truth approached, their first faster-than-light jump. All hands, secure for FTL transit, Do-hyun ordered. Remember your training. This is what we've prepared for. The hybrid drive spooled up, combining Vexor principles with human innovations. Where alien ships made precise, calculated jumps, the Revenge's human designers had built in the ability to make mid-flight adjustments, something the Vexor had never considered possible. Jump in 3, 2, 1. Reality twisted around them as the ship entered FTL. The crew held their breath, watching their instruments carefully. This was the moment that would prove whether humanity could truly reach beyond their solar system. The jump lasted 20 minutes, but felt like hours. When they emerged, a new star system surrounded them. They had done it. Humans had successfully navigated faster than light travel. Position confirmed. Navigation reported excitedly. We're exactly where we planned to be. The Vexor homeworld is 3 systems away. Do-hyun allowed his crew a moment of celebration before bringing them back to focus. We've proven we can do it. Now comes the hard part. Showing the Confederation that humanity isn't just defending Earth anymore. We can take the fight to them. As the Revenge continued its journey, more reports came in about fracturing Confederation unity. Some species were now openly calling for peace talks, citing humanity's rapid technological advancement as proof that they deserved respect, not subjugation. They're starting to understand, Du Hyun told his crew as they prepared for their next jump. We're not just primitive beings they can easily conquer. We're a species that can take their technology, improve it, and use it in ways they never imagined. The mission was already succeeding, even before they reached their final destination. The mere fact that humans could build and operate a starship was sending shockwaves through the Confederation. The message was clear. Humanity would not be confined to their solar system. The grand hall of the Confederation Assembly gleamed with crystalline light, its soaring arches designed to make visitors feel small and insignificant. But Dr. Lee Min-ji felt neither as she walked to the central podium. Behind her sat Admiral Jinwoo and Earth's delegation. Across the hall, representatives from every Confederation species watched, some with curiosity, others with barely concealed hostility. The Vexor delegates sat front and center, their scales dulled from stress and recent defeats. They had expected this meeting to be their final humiliation. After all, they had tried to conquer humanity, dismissing them as primitives. Now those same primitives had not only defeated them, but managed to reach their homeworld. Min-ji adjusted her simple black suit, a deliberate choice over the ceremonial robes the Confederation preferred. "We stand here today," she began, her voice carrying clearly through the vast chamber, "at what could be either an ending or a beginning. The choice, surprisingly, is yours." Murmurs rippled through the assembly. This was not how conquest negotiations usually began. "Humanity has proven we can fight," she continued. "We've shown we can take your technology and improve it. We've demonstrated our reach extends far beyond our solar system." She paused, looking directly at the Vexor delegation. "But today we show you something far more important. We can choose peace." The chamber fell silent. Even the most hostile delegates leaned forward, curiosity overcoming their prejudice. "Our terms are simple," Min-ji declared. "First, the Confederation acknowledges Earth and humanity as equals, not subjects. Second, we share technology and knowledge freely between our peoples. Third," she smiled slightly, "you learn from us as we learn from you." Admiral Jinwoo watched the reactions ripple through the assembly. The Vexor delegates seemed confused. They had expected demands for reparations, territory, or even surrender. Instead, they were being offered partnership. "You may wonder why we don't demand more," Min-ji continued. "Why we don't seek revenge for your attempted conquest. The answer is simple, because that's not who we are. Humanity has fought countless wars, yes. We've had our share of conquerors and tyrants. But we've learned something your Confederation seems to have forgotten. True strength lies not in defeating your enemy, but in turning them into allies." She gestured to the human delegation, each member chosen to represent different aspects of Earth's cultures and achievements. "You called us primitive because we still wage wars, but those wars taught us the value of peace. You mocked us for our technological limitations, but those limitations forced us to be creative. You dismissed our divisions, but our diversity became our greatest asset." The Arcarian delegates were nodding now, joined by several other species. They had argued for peace with humans from the start, impressed by Earth's resilience and ingenuity. "We offer peace," Min-ji declared, her voice ringing with conviction, "not because we must, but because we choose to. Remember this lesson: never mistake kindness for weakness." As she spoke, holographic displays activated around the chamber, showing images of Earth, its cities, its nature, its people. Not as a primitive world to be conquered, but as a vibrant civilization ready to join the galactic community. "The choice is yours," she concluded. "We can be your greatest allies or your worst enemies. We've proven we can be either. Which would you prefer?" The treaty discussions that followed lasted for days, but the outcome was never in doubt. The Confederation, faced with humanity's unexpected wisdom, chose alliance over enmity. Earth was recognized as a major galactic power, its unique combination of technological innovation and ethical philosophy reshaping the balance of power. As the delegates prepared to depart, Admiral Jinwoo found Minji staring out at the alien sunset. "You know," he said quietly, "when they first arrived at our space station, I never imagined we'd end up here." Minji smiled. They thought they were superior because they'd moved beyond war, but they never understood. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our ability to fight. It's our ability to forgive. The Admiral watched ships taking off, carrying delegates back to their homeworlds. Each would carry stories of the humans who could have chosen vengeance, but selected peace instead. "We've changed them," he observed, "more than they've changed us." "That's because we never forgot our humanity," Minji replied. "Even when building starships and fighting space battles, we remembered who we are. Not perfect beings, but people always striving to be better." As Earth's delegation prepared to board their ship, no longer a disguised weapon like the Revenge, but a proper diplomatic vessel, they knew they had achieved something unprecedented. They had turned potential conquerors into allies, not through force alone, but through the uniquely human combination of strength and compassion. The stars awaited, and humanity was ready to take its place among them. End of story.